Spring training games are now well underway across the league, as are my positional rankings for the 2025 season. On Friday, we did catchers, and today we're doing first basemen. We've got quite a few strong first basemen across baseball, but which of them is the best? Today we're going to rank them from 30 to 1 based on how much I'd want them on my team for the 2025 season. Let's get into it. And we're starting off with Ty France of the Minnesota Twins. To be honest, I don't know who will get more time at first for the Twins between France and Miranda, but either way, there's not much to look forward to. France was awful last year, he wasn't very good in 2023 either, and the peripherals tell us he's not likely to get better anytime soon. He doesn't hit the ball hard, he doesn't defend well, his plate discipline is okay, but that doesn't make up for the rest of his shortcomings. I really don't understand what the Twins were going for here. They had Santana last year, I don't know if he just didn't want to come back or what, but this isn't a great solution at first base and the Twins may suffer for it in 2025. The 29th spot goes to Andrew Vaughn of the Chicago White Sox. Andrew Vaughn is just never going to turn out, at least that's what it seems at this point. The 2019 third overall pick has just never done anything in the majors to this point. He doesn't look like he'll ever be anything more than a league average hitter, and in fact his offense went down in 2024. The peripherals aren't completely hopeless, but you get the sense it's just never going to work out in Chicago. Vaughn could show some promise as an interesting change of scenery candidate. His average exit velocity and hard hit rate aren't bad, but at least for now Vaughn stays at the number 29 spot. 28 is Marlins first baseman Jonah Bride. Bride was a weird one to rank. On the surface, his season looked really good. In 71 games, he had 11 home runs, an 818 OPS, and a 123 WRC+, but the peripherals do not support him. He just doesn't hit the ball hard and seems to have way overperformed last year. I love the production, but it just isn't sustainable going forward. The number 27 spot goes to Rhys Hoskins of the Brewers. Hoskins quite simply does not look like the player he used to be. He's not consistently hitting the ball hard anymore, he's striking out a ton, his defense is not good at all. By WRC+, he was exactly league average last year, but his expected WOBA tells you that he may have overperformed even that. He's only 31, he could return to form, but the peripherals aren't super promising for Hoskins. I can't put him much higher than 27, he just isn't what he used to be. Up next is Colt Keith of the Tigers. Keith makes the switch from second to first this year, and his defense should play well over there, but the bat just may not be enough for first base. He's young, he still has time to develop the bat, but his stats just don't jump off the page right now. He's the first of a few guys in the mid-20s that have some potential but haven't shown us anything yet. Keith could certainly move up this list, but I'm not ready to buy into him just yet. The 25 spot goes to Nolan Shanwell of the Angels. In a lot of ways, he's just like Colt Keith. He's a young guy with potential and just hasn't shown us much yet. He doesn't hit the ball hard at all, but he possesses elite plate discipline and doesn't swing and miss at all. There are some things to look forward to with Shanwell, but he has to put it together. Like Keith, I'm not buying in on him quite yet, but he certainly could move up in the future. Number 24 is Spencer Steer of the Reds. Steer followed up a big 2023 by taking a large step back in 2024, dropping his OPS by 99 points. He wasn't bad last year, but he was still a below league average hitter. His peripherals don't really suggest he underperformed. Perhaps this is closer to the actual hitter he'll be long term. It would seem to make sense if after a big 2023 and then a down 2024 he ends up somewhere in the middle next year. And if that's the case, this is a safe spot for him, or he could even move up. I'm just not in love with Spencer Steer, but I wouldn't be disappointed to have him on my team either. Tyler Soderstrom of the A's takes the number 24 spot. Soderstrom marks the third and my favorite of this bunch in the mid-20s that have potential but just haven't proven anything yet. I have a hard time even saying that about Soderstrom because he was so good last year, but only in 61 games, so I can't get too excited yet. There's a lot to be intrigued by with Soderstrom. He had a 114 WRC+ last year, and his expected WOBA tells you he may have underperformed. He might even be too low this year, but this gives him room to jump up the list next year. Number 22 is newly signed Yankee Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt was not good last year, but I do have reason to be optimistic. The first half was dreadful, but he did come on a lot stronger in the second half. His peripherals also suggest he was a better hitter than his results would show. But what's also very interesting to me will be this ballpark switch to Yankee Stadium. His expected home run total last year was only 20 in Busch Stadium, but when you put him in Yankee Stadium, it jumps up to 25. He certainly won't be an MVP, but I expect a bounce back. Number 21 is Jake Burger, now of the Texas Rangers. Burger hits baseballs very hard. His average exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit percentage are all in the 81st percentile or higher. It looks like in a full season he'll always be good for 25 plus home runs. The bad news is he doesn't do anything else particularly well. The plate discipline is not good, he swings and misses a lot and does not walk very much. Defense isn't hugely important at first base, but it matters, and Burger is not a good defender. This isn't a popular opinion, but if we're being honest, he's a downgrade from Nate Lowe for the Rangers. But he still hits tanks, so here he lands. Leading off the top 20 is Lamont Wade Jr. of the Giants. Wade is such an interesting hitter. He's an analytics darling and almost always underperforms what the peripherals say he should be doing. His plate discipline is elite, and he hits the ball hard, which makes his baseball savant page glow. But he has his shortcomings. He's not a good defender or base runner, and he's had some health issues the last couple of years. And while he has elite peripherals, the results are nothing particularly special. As a first baseman, he's good. Not great, just good. And at number 19 is Luis Arraez of the Padres. Here we go, from the analytics darling to the man that analytics hate. It's Luis Arraez. Arraez is a hitter from times past, a contact-first guy who doesn't strike out and doesn't hit for power but constantly hits for high averages. While in a lot of ways it's refreshing to see hitters of old come back in the form of Arraez, he does have some problems. He has a very bizarre-looking baseball savant page. Unsurprisingly, his contact measures are through the roof. His expected batting average is 98th percentile, his whiff rate and K rate are 100th percentile, but equally unsurprisingly, he provides no plate discipline or power. He's also not a good base runner and a pretty horrible fielder. The unfortunate truth is that as fun as Arraez is, he's only a one-trick pony. And don't get me wrong, his one trick is really good, but at first base that can't be the only thing you do. That said, you can't complain about having Arraez, he's still a top 20 first baseman. Number 18 is Carlos Santana of the Cleveland Guardians. Santana's had a late career resurgence these last 2 years, and he's coming off of a very strong 2024. He put up a 114 WRC plus and a 3 WAR last year. He's also become an excellent defensive first baseman, ranking in the 98th percentile in outs above average. At age 38, the ceiling is only so high, but with great defense and very solid peripherals backing up his offensive numbers, I think Santana is a top 20 first baseman for 2025. Number 17 is Luke Raley of the Seattle Mariners. On a Seattle team that's been hard-pressed for offense the past few years, Raley has been a very consistent bat in the middle of their lineup. He put up a WRC plus of 129 last year, which is the best of anyone so far on this list. He's not a good defender and the lack of plate discipline concerns me, but I can't argue with the results, especially in T-Mobile Park where hitters are known to struggle. I think another productive year is on the way. Michael Toglia of the Rockies comes in at number 16. Toglia has yet to put up numbers that justify a top 16 placement, but I think the big breakout is coming this year. If you check his baseball savant page, he ranks in the 90th percentile or higher in xWOBA, expected slugging percentage, average exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit rate, LA sweet spot, walk percentage. He's a beast. Comparing his WOBA with his xWOBA, we can see that there's actually a 36-point gap, meaning he got way unluckier than he should have been this year. The breakout is coming, but until we see it happen, this is where he lands. Number 15 is Michael Busch of the Chicago Cubs. Busch had a very strong rookie season with the Cubs, putting up a 775 OPS, a 119 WRC plus, and 2.3 WAR. Some of his metrics suggest he may have overperformed a little bit, but there's no reason to believe he can't be a similarly productive hitter in the future. He hits the ball fairly hard, he walks a lot, he's a good fielder, and he doesn't chase very much. There's a lot to be excited about with Busch, and at age 27, I don't think he's going to have some crazy breakout that puts him into the top tier, but he's a very good first baseman for any major league team. At number 14 is Spencer Horwitz, now of the Pirates. Horwitz ranks higher than I thought he would coming in, but it's for good reason. He's been very productive in his short major league career so far, putting up a 127 WRC plus in 97 games last year. And looking at his peripherals, I have reason to believe he can keep it up. He has excellent plate discipline and he doesn't swing and miss much. He doesn't hit the ball super hard, but he makes a lot of contact and is good at finding the sweet spot. I think the switch to PNC Park will suit him well too. The short right field wall means that he doesn't need to crush the ball to hit a home run over it. I like the Horwitz pickup. Number 13 is Vinny Pasquantino of the Royals. Man, Pasquantino is such a promising bat who just has yet to put it all together at the major league level. The results are solid, but the peripherals tell a different story entirely. His hard hit rate and his average exit velocity were both in the 78th percentile or higher, and his squared up rate, whiff rate, and K rate were all in the 92nd percentile or higher. He's a good fielder too. There's a talented player in here, he just needs to put it all together. Number 12 is Ryan Mountcastle of the Baltimore Orioles. I'm high on Mountcastle going into 2025, especially because he was the biggest victim of the now extinct Oriole Park left field wall. Before they moved that wall, his numbers would tell you he crushed balls, and if you look at his peripherals, he still does, it's just now a lot of them are turning into incredibly deep flyouts. Mountcastle hit a couple fly balls that would have been home runs anywhere except Oriole Park this year. But now the walls are coming in and Mountcastle still crushes. The quality of contact numbers are just so enticing, and now that the ballpark isn't actively working against him, I think he'll have a big bounce back year in 2025. Just missing out on the top 10 is Tristan Casas of the Boston Red Sox. This guy is a phenomenal hitter. Forget the injury-riddled 2024 season, just look at his 2023 season where he put up an 857 OPS and 500 plate appearances. His average exit velos and hard hit rate are both excellent, his barrel rate's one of the best at the position, and his plate discipline is elite. He's not a good defender or base runner, but he's not terrible either. He's just carried by that incredibly talented bat. If he's healthy this year and doesn't miss a lot of time, I think he's going to be an incredibly important part of this very potent Boston lineup. We are kicking off the top 10 with Nate Lowe of the Nationals. Point blank, this guy is underrated. His 2024 wasn't fantastic, but he still put up a very solid 2.8 WAR and a 121 WRC+. He walks as much as anybody in the league, he doesn't chase, and he doesn't really swing and miss much either. He doesn't hit the ball incredibly hard, but he still frequently makes good contact. He's also one of the best defenders at the position. If I'm being honest, I think the Rangers downgraded this offseason, but maybe a change of scenery is what it'll take to get Lowe back to his 2022 form where he hit 27 home runs with an 850 OPS. Let's see what he can accomplish as a veteran leader on a young team. Number 9 is Josh Naylor, new first baseman of the D-backs. Losing Christian Walker to free agency was a bummer, but the D-backs did about as good of a job as they could of replacing him. Last year, Naylor put up a 118 WRC+ with a career-high 31 home runs. Looking at the peripherals, you just see a well-rounded player. He hits the ball hard, he makes good consistent contact, he has pretty good plate discipline, he's an above-average fielder. Losing Walker hurts, but if you're a D-backs fan, you can't be disappointed about Naylor. Number 8 is former catcher Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals. Despite missing time with an injury, Contreras was excellent last year. Of anyone who played at least half the season, his 140 WRC+ is the third highest of any hitter on this list. His expected WOBA was in the 93rd percentile, all of his quality of contact stats were very high as well. He also walked at a 97th percentile. Because of the injury, we don't know how well those rates would have kept up, but the move to first base should only help him. Not only does he have less defensive responsibilities now, but of course there's a lower odds of him getting injured since his injury last year came from catching. There is a lot of uncertainty on this Cardinals team, but one thing that is certain is that Contreras will be a powerful force in the middle of that lineup. Number 7 is Pete Alonso, now back with the New York Mets. By almost any standard, 2024 was the worst season of Alonso's career. Excluding 2020, he put up career worst totals in both OPS and home runs. The peripherals still show an incredibly talented hitter, and he still crushes baseballs like few others. But with the issues he had last year, I understand why teams were hesitant to sign him to a long-term contract. I think this short deal will do Alonso well. He has a fire lit under him now, a real reason to have a bounce-back year, and his hard hit rate, barrel rate, bat speed, and expected slugging show there's reason to believe he can. Watch out for Pete this year, he's a man on a mission. Number 6 is Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays. Diaz has been underrated for years. He may still be underrated on this list, honestly. His Baseball Savant page just glows of red, it's an incredible thing. He's 85th percentile or above in expected batting average, average exit velocity, hard hit rate, squared up rate, chase percentage, whiff percentage, K percentage. He's incredible. He did all that, might I add, in what's a down year by his standards. After an All-Star 2023, he only put up a 755 OPS with a 120 WRC+, and he was still that good. He doesn't field very well or run very well, but he's just one of the best hitters in the game. Starting off the top 5 is Christian Walker, now of the Astros. Christian Walker is awesome, man. Last year was yet another year of an over 800 OPS, over 25 home runs, and great defense to go with it. Christian Walker is just consistently a really, really good player. Walker provides a consistency so few can in today's game. There's a certain level you can just expect from him. He may deliver more, but he won't deliver less. The switch to Houston should be good for him as well. Right-handed home run hitters tend to fare pretty well in Houston with the Crawford boxes. Fresh off of the Jose Abreu disaster, the Astros have found themselves a first baseman so consistent I'm not worried. The number 4 spot goes to Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. There was a time I had Walker ahead of Olson on this list. In fact, it was that way for a while, but I just couldn't keep it that way. Olson wasn't great in 2024. He certainly wasn't bad, not even close to it, but he wasn't great. But it was a down year for the Braves all around, and we just can't forget how good he was in 2023. Olson put up 54 home runs in 2023 with a 993 OPS. Even with his struggles this year, he still nearly homered 30 times and put up an OPS of almost 800. It seemed almost every Brave had a down year last year, and I expect most of them are going to bounce back, and Olson should be one of the ones to bounce back in a huge way. Despite the down year, his barrel rate, average exit velo, and hard hit rate were all still above the 83rd percentile. This man still mashes. Olson has earned himself a spot at number 4 on this list, and he will bounce back. At number 3 is World Series legend Freddie Freeman. Freeman's World Series heroics need no introduction, especially given the injury he had, but unfortunately, Freddie Freeman is getting older. He was still an excellent player in 2024. Obviously, he's still at 3rd on this list, but I think we've probably seen the best of Freddie Freeman. He still possesses elite plate discipline and contact skills, which is good because it's a skill set that tends to age very well as he gets older. But the power looks like it might not be what it used to be. He's not as good of a defender as he once was as well, but he's 35. What do you expect? Freeman will probably be a top 10 first baseman until he's 40, but I just don't think he's top 2 status anymore. The number 2 spot goes to Bryce Harper of the Phillies. Despite the recent injuries, Harper has found himself a nice home over at first base. He was excellent with the bat in 2024, as always, but his defense has become really strong over at first. His 8 outs above average was 93rd percentile, and his 6 fielding run value was 82nd percentile. He's a decent enough base runner for a first baseman, and of course, the bat is just phenomenal. Harper swings and misses a lot, but he makes a lot of contact. He's great at finding the barrel. He hits the ball really, really hard. He's just an incredible hitter all around. There's not much to say about Harper that hasn't already been said. He's a phenomenal first baseman, but there's one guy I'm taking above him. And of course, that would be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. After a pair of years that were solid but nothing special, Guerrero really found himself again at the plate this year. In fact, that's an understatement. He was one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball. 165 WRC+, best at the position. 940 OPS, best at the position. 5.5 WAR, best at the position. His expected WOBA, expected slugging, and average exit velo were all in the 98th percentile, hard hit rate in the 97th percentile, barrel rate in the 91st percentile. Even in some of his weaker spots, he wasn't below average in any aspect offensively. Yes, he's a very poor defender and base runner, but look at this Baseball Savant page and tell me he isn't the best first baseman in the league going into 2025. We've got a very talented bunch of first basemen in the MLB right now, which made this list really hard to make. No matter how I organized it, somebody felt underrated, but that just speaks to the talent in the game today. But what do you think? Who's too high? Who's too low? Be sure to let me know and hit that subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more baseball content coming up in the future.